Hey, everybody. Just letting things sync up here, getting everybody started across all the various social medias. All right. I think I'm live everywhere. So I'm live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Just thought I'd jump on today. This was not planned. I had plans today and they got canceled. And I said, you know what? Why not jump online? I haven't done a live by myself really since January. So I thought it would be fun to just jump on. No particular topic. If you guys want to just ask me any questions today, I'll be on for about a half hour. And just kind of riffing. It's up to you guys. So normally I'm on Wednesdays with Lindsay, aka Squirrely Girl. We do our live show from 4 to 5:30 Eastern. But that's over on Boy Meets Squirrel. Figured, you know what? I've got to get back to doing some lives on my channel because it's been a while. Hey, Skid. Hey, Omega. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Mark. Omega wanted to know how I'm doing. I am doing fan-effing-tastic, actually. Although it's a crappy day here. I'm in Southeast North Carolina. We're expecting some heavy rain probably any minute now. And normally I'd be at the beach right about now, but this is not a day to be going to the beach here. So, although it's nice and warm. Legenart Norden. Boy, did I butcher your name, did I not? Hello from Norway. Hello, my friends. I always wanted to go to Norway. I've talked about there's a lot of places I want to go, but Norway is one of them. I'm fascinated to. I'm not a cold person either, or snow, but I actually did one of those virtual tour type things online of Oslo, and it was fascinating to me. So it's on my bucket list to get there eventually. So yeah, you guys want to ask me any questions, jump in. I'll be jumping all around. You're gonna see me looking all over because I got 3 different screens open. But let's jump in because I've already got a couple. So Omega wanted to know, what do I think of Andrew Tate? Not much. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's funny because I get asked about him at least once a week by a lot of people. And I have nothing against him personally. Don't read into it that way. But what I don't like is that he has been equated to the typical men's rights activist, father's rights activist, whatever you want to call it, right? And he's not. In fact, we talked about this last Wednesday on Boy Meets Squirrel. This exact subject is that, he is what I call a grifter, right? He's in it to make money. He says outlandish things specifically designed to piss people off in many cases or get people to cheer him on. He's out to make a buck. And I have zero problem with that. If someone can do something and make money off of it, more power to him. But the problem is he is the one that's going on all the podcasts and being interviewed by, I've seen him on CNN and a few other shows or news channels. And so he's become the face of men's rights, and he does not care about men's rights. He does not talk about them really. Another one I often get asked about is Pearl, and same thing, right? Again, I don't begrudge them making money, but they're grifters. They are not doing what I do, right? So my goal with my channels is to raise awareness of men's and boys issues. And, I have a little fun also, but behind the scenes, I also lobby pretty much every single week. I'm at least talking to 1 or 2 politicians, if not more. We're this close in a couple of states, one in particular for shared parenting. I've been working with some people behind the scenes on that. Iowa is one of them. And doing stuff like that. I'm working on some domestic violence shelters for men and all that. I do all that stuff behind the scenes. They don't do this stuff. In fact, to be honest with you, with regard to domestic violence shelters, I actually reached out to both Tate and Pearl because they make a lot of money and asked them to give us $10,000 towards a domestic violence shelter. Crickets, so that's what I thought, really, that's why I don't want them equated with me, because they're not the same. So misbehaving, mustache, thank you. From Bonnie, Scotland, Skid 64. Guess what? I found out. So another story I'll share. I've always been told growing up, now mind you, I'm 61 years old, my whole life that I was pretty much German and Italian, right? On my father's side, mostly Italian. On my mother's side, mostly German. Well, for Christmas, around Christmas, Ancestry had one of those DNA things on sale. So I said, what the heck? I'll do it. Well, my friends, found out a few things. One, I am about 25-ish%, I'm going to round these numbers, Italian, which I know comes from my grandfather on my father's side. Okay. But I'm something close to almost 50% English and Scottish. I can't do the accent. Something I never knew until I had the DNA test done. So, started doing some research on that. Now I have to get to Bonnie, Scotland and Norway. I found out I'm 2% Swedish. I think it was 1% or 1 or 2% Norwegian, a little bit of Dutch, some German. So it's like, I'm a mutt, but primarily I'm English and Scottish. Who knew, right? But I would have never known that, and it was never discussed in the family. So yeah, it was kind of funny about that. All right. Cosmic Carter wants to know, do you let people talk when you meet them? What does that mean? You got to give me more context on that. All right. Let me go back. I'm jumping between different screens. So if you're on, let me know where you're from too, because I love seeing that. Green Day, Greenie said a hello from the Netherlands. Jens said hi from Germany. Guten Tag, wie geht's, my friend? Let's see. Oh, my buddy Florida Private Eye is on. BT, hello, new subscriber. Welcome, sir. BT is in Tennessee. Michael, Tate feels like a plant to discredit. He's not a plant, but yeah, he does cause a lot of problems. In fact, the truth of the matter is, one of the reasons I'm not a fan of his is that he gets thrown in my face when I meet with politicians all the time. Because the problem is, feminists will cut from his shows. He's got his various shows, and they do Pearl also, and some others. Cut little snippets and send them to politicians and say, see, this is what men's rights activists are all about. When you have, for example, when Pearl was talking about don't let women vote, that was a whole thing she was in there. I had that thrown in my face pretty much by every politician from both sides of the aisle all last fall. And that discredits all of us. And it makes it really hard for me to get money for domestic violence shelters. It makes it really hard for me to get them to take our issues seriously. That's why I have the problem with them. Kevin Killjoy wants to know what I think about Jordan Peterson. Love him. I actually liked him before he used to talk a lot of politicians. I knew about him before he became big. He had talked about men's issues. He's Canadian. I don't know if people know that, but I have some people I know in Canada who had turned me on to him. I think he hit it big in 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. But I had some people that turned me on to him beforehand. And I read a lot of his stuff, and he's a really, really good guy. I've actually reached out to interview him on my podcast. I can't afford it. He doesn't come on for free. I would love to interview him. But he's got a speaking fee. Again, I don't begrudge him for that. But yeah, I think he's done a lot of good work. He's the opposite of a Tate, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. He's saying some things here and there to get attention, as do I, by the way, right? Some of the videos I make are deliberately done to bring an audience in because I want people to hear my message, and I got to have an audience to do that. And I think Jordan Peterson's more along the lines of what I do, and he absolutely is working behind the scenes to help with men's issues. All right. Stephen Ryan said, love your videos. Cheers from Dublin. Got my Europeans on today. You guys, Pearl is right. I'm assuming you're talking about the voting. That's your opinion. I have daughters. I don't agree with you, and I never will. And anyone who runs around saying that, you are making it 100 times harder for us to get things like shared parenting, domestic violence shelters I've talked about, addressing the men's mental health issues. You guys don't realize the damage you're doing. Just going to leave it at that because I want to keep this positive today. AB Studios said, I was wondering if you could do a video on opposite reaction to sexism in the workplace. Had a female coworker make comments and she has a job still. Yeah, I can do a video on that. In fact, I can actually talk about an issue I had. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you for that. Mind you, I'm going back 25 years, maybe longer. I worked for a company. It was a cube farm. So, it was 50 people all in one. It was an open office with cubes. And one of the women, I remember we came back from Christmas and she had gotten a calendar of Chippendales, right? Which personally I wouldn't have cared about. But she tacked it up in her cubicle and nobody said a word about it, right? And I remember, because I was friends with the HR person, and I remember saying to the HR person, look, I'm not complaining or anything, but why is that allowed? And where if I brought in an equivalent showing women scantily clothed, would you allow that? Well, no, that would be offensive. Well, how is hers not? So I can kind of play off that. That's not a bad, thank you for that. That's not a bad idea. Omega said, I asked my library to make a theme after Men's Mental Health Month. Ooh, I love it. What did they say? I'm curious. I got to scroll forward here. Jens said, Guten Tag. Jens, my German is so rusty. I actually was fairly fluent in German when I was younger. I haven't used it in 3 decades, so I've forgotten most of it. Jeff wants to know if I'm on Rumble. I am. I do have an account on Rumble. I do post videos there. I do not pay much attention to it. Rumble is useless for me. They do not push my videos. I have mixed feelings on Rumble. I think they're more open to things than others, but they seem to push certain creators and that's it. I know my feed, I don't spend a ton of time on any social media, but Rumble in particular, my feed is the same 5 creators all the time. And so, yeah, I am on Rumble. My videos are there. I don't do lives there or anything like that. I'm not against Rumble, but there's only so many places you can be. So I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Insta, X, which will always be Twitter to me. Even Twitter, I've kind of gotten away from it because I can only be in so many places and do so much. And I'm a one-man gang here. So, it's tough for me. I don't have, like say Jordan Peterson's got a whole crew behind him, right? So he makes his videos. He's got editors to edit them. I edit all my own videos. I have to maintain my website. Everything I write, column wise, because I write columns, those are all me. So that's why I do not pay much attention to Rumble. I just don't have the time, to be honest with you. Joe X said, what made me start talking about this particular subject as far as men being heard? Well, I've talked about this many times before. The main impetus for me becoming a lobbyist and really going into it was my first divorce, which happened in 1995, and walking in the courtroom and realizing that truth, justice, and the American way simply did not exist in family court. But prior to that, I had always talked. Again, I wasn't very big in media back then or anything, but I had always talked with friends and stuff like that about, how, for example, in high school and college, how they were even then favoring women. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, right? I went to college from 81 to 85. And we even saw it then. And we were talking about, and now mind you, in the 70s, I thought of myself as a feminist. I believe in equal rights. That's the problem. I actually believe in equal rights. Same for both, as opposed to going one way. So that's what started the kernel, if you will, the little seed that planted then, but it really kind of bloomed and grew in the mid 90s after my first divorce. I love these questions, guys. Keep them coming. Got to take a quick drink. Dino Rex said, hey, Dan, do you think America isn't great because of how it's so bad on us men? I think America is in deep doo-doo, and I'm not talking politics, okay? I'm not even going to get into that. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's irrelevant to me. They all hate men. That's my viewpoint. And that's why I think, yes, America's in deep doo-doo. Because politically speaking, and remind you, I talk to politicians at all levels, federal, state, local, every single week. They don't care about men. Now, let me kind of correct that a little bit. They are starting to. I am seeing that. The elect game changer for men. It really, really was. Men drove that election. I know everybody thinks about the president. I don't even, whoever's president really doesn't affect men that much and the men's issues. It's Congress at the federal level, because that's who controls the purse strings, and then mostly state, things like family court, domestic violence, and all that is at the state level, okay, and then locally. And when you look at how much men affected the election at all those levels in 24, everybody talks about, the president, and yeah, men have actually determined the election going back to 72. 50 odd years. Okay. In fact, I did a podcast with a Democratic strategist back, Mark is his name, back in, I think it was December, might have been late November, where we went through the election. And he said, he made it very clear because he wrote a book on it, that men have determined every presidential election since 72, and compelling, proved it. Okay. And if it happened here also in 24, but I'm more interested in looking at, like I said, Congress, and more importantly, the state level. And men definitely had an effect, and the politicians know it. That's how I also know, right? I knew it during the election or just after it. I kind of was reading the tea leaves beforehand. I said, something's up, right? And I actually did shows and talked about it. So did Lindsay and I. And then after the election, I was doing my own analysis, and I'm like, wow, right? When you look at the numbers, for example, I'm in North Carolina now. Men definitely have an effect. Oh, there's no question. I'm from New York originally. I looked at that. Men had an effect. And that's where the politicians are seeing that too, right? They've gotten all over depending on which side you're on, the cheering they won or the butt hurt because they lost. They're all past that. They're now doing analysis. And in talking with them right after the election, I had many say to me, what the F? What the hell got men going, right? Because they were seeing the numbers just like I was. And so it is changing. We got a long way to go. The problem we have is we don't come together and speak as one voice, which is something I'm working on with many groups, right? So I was, the International Council of Men and Boys had a conference this past week. I was part of that. I was the lead speaker. Not to toot my own horn, but I led off, and one of the topic that I led off on was how the media portrays men and how it percolates down to every other issue. Any issue you have that men and boys have, I can trace back to the media portraying us in a negative way, right? That's not to say mine is better than anybody else's. That wasn't the thing. But, as we were going through and you kind of look at the analysis, we talked about shared parenting. We talked about domestic violence. We talked about boys' education, all that stuff. Again, that's where we need to come together. That's part of what that conference was about. There's roughly 170 odd groups that they've identified, and they're all starting to call that we have one message. We're not inventing anything. It's exactly what the women's groups have done for 50 years. So a lot of exciting stuff. But going back to Dino's question, no, I don't think America's in a really good spot right now. I do a lot of videos, as you all know, if you watch me, talking about, how bad relationships are and men are walking away. And I, at this point, tell men don't get married. I mean, I say that as someone who's married, but I hit the lottery. Okay. But if I were a younger man now, there's no way in hell I would get married. Even if, God forbid, anything ever happened to my wife and I found myself, a widower or whatever, I would never get remarried again. It's too toxic against men. I have been in family court with God knows how many guys and seen people get screwed time and time again. And, going back to what we were talking about, politics, politicians don't care. We're the whipping boys, right? And that's why I kind of advocate for that, because, I actually believe in marriage. I actually believe in relationships. And going back to Dino's question, the country's not going to survive if we don't somehow get back to men and women being together and coexisting peacefully. It's not. It will not survive. But we're a long way from that. We've had 50 years of burying men. It's probably going to take another 50 years to kind of bring the pendulum back. I won't be around for it, I don't believe. I'm seeing it starting to swing back, right? More and more women are realizing, oh, we went too far. But societies cannot live and survive and thrive unless men and women are together. And before I'm not trying to put down gay people. All right, stop. I'm talking in generalities here. Because I said that one time and some guy jumped all over me. You hate gay. I'm like, what? No. Some of my, this is a lame term, but one of my very best friends happens to be gay and he agrees with me. All right, so let me jump back over because I know a bunch of other questions have come in. Guys, I'm just going to do a blanket thank you for all the kind words because there's so many of you. I can't keep up with that. There was another question that rolled and I got to find it. But again, guys, keep the questions coming. If you've got anything you want to ask me, I'll stay on. I was only planning doing a half hour, but I'll stay on a little bit longer if people are asking questions. Problem is I'm jumping between 3 or 4 things and it's tough for me to see. Oh, somebody from Perth. Chris Merrill said, while I respect you wanting to keep things positive, I have to ask, if you believe in the voting system, women voters far outnumber men. Why is it okay women can vote? First of all, they don't far outnumber men. Guys, that's a misnomer. Okay. It's about 51, 52 to 49. That's what it is. That's not a far out number. Okay. As I said, men have determined every presidential election for 50 years. The assumption, and I'm not knocking on you, Chris, okay? Please don't take it that way. Guys, you got to stop wallowing in that pity party that women have more votes than men, okay? Because not every woman votes that way. In fact, go look at the numbers. Don't believe me. Go look at the numbers in the last election. Women had a lot to say also, all right? They split about 50-50. I'm rounding things. And it's this belief that, well, men, this is the excuse men use, guys. I'm gonna call y'all out, not anyone in particular. I'm generalizing here, okay? We got to stop this BS pity party that we're using where, oh, we can't change anything because the women control the vote. Bullshit. We are the ones who actually control the vote every bit as much as the women do. We just don't. We choose not to. We sit things out. So again, Chris, I'm not trying to knock you in any way. Okay. Please don't take it that way. Obi Trice from North Carolina. What part of the state are you from, my friend? I'm in Southeast. Dino Rex said America's not a great country when it comes to us, man. I would argue any Western country. Any. Name me one that really favors men or treats them equally. I mean, I hear from guys across the world. When I used to do the Wakely show, just me before Lindsay joined me a couple years ago, I had guys, because I would ask everybody where they're from, much like I am today, well over 100 countries, regularly. Every single one of them said the same thing. We all tend to think our country is the worst. If you're in the U.S., you think the U.S. is worse. If you're in Britain, you think the U.K. is the worst, so on, Australia, and so on. I would argue right now the worst is India, and Australia is right behind them. I mean, they are basically outlawing men, but they're all bad. So that's the other thing, guys, right? We have to realize this is worldwide. It's not unique to any particular country. Some are better, some are a little bit worse, but in general, they're all pretty much the same. So, all right. Let me go back. MJH said, love your content over on Insta. Thank you, my friend. Guys, again, blanket thank yous for all the kind words. China's gone crazy too. Yeah, it has. China figured out they screwed up big time. And I'm no fan of China, don't get me wrong, but I have a feeling they're going to fix it faster than anybody. Of course, they're an autocratic society, but a couple people agreeing with me on marriage, some not, and that's fine, guys. It's fine. Kaiser said, do you ever go live with men to share his story or their story? I don't do that live, guys. And the reason why, it's very rare that I will ever have a guest on live with me. Lindsay and I have started bringing guests on, but the issue is not so much with the other platforms, but TikTok. All you need is a guest to screw up, say one wrong thing, and you get banned, right? Even though you, so if I had, John Doe on and he went off, I'm the one that loses my channel. So that's why I don't bring guests on for that. I do have them on my podcast, which is on hold right now. I've had to put the podcast on hold because I'm working on a ton of stuff behind the scenes. Looking to bring it back probably June-ish. I'm already starting to line guests up. That said, Sarah Eaton will be joining us as a guest on Boy Meets Scroll. I'm hoping this up. Sarah, if you're on and you see this, let me know. And then 2 weeks ago, I had David Pizarro, a divorce attorney, on live with me because I know them well enough. They're friends that I didn't have to worry about them. But yeah, that's why I don't bring people on that way. We get requests all the time. It's too risky to lose the channel. And I'm perpetually got 2 strikes against me on TikTok. I get reported every single day. Literally every single day I have a video taken down. RJ said, is it true the United States is running slowly out of fuel? I am by no means an expert on this, but I did see something on YouTube. I want to say YouTube. We actually have, and again, don't hold me to this because it's something I saw, but we have enough reserves to match, I think it was Saudi Arabia and some other country. And that's not even counting Alaska. We have more minerals in Alaska, they're saying, than we would ever need as far as like to import. Who knows? I'm not an expert on it, guys. I don't want to go there, but I know Alaska's got a lot. All right, let me jump. MJ said a lot of the cultural propaganda we've seen in the last 20 years has come from China as warfare. I don't disagree with you, my friend, but most of it, to be honest with you, is self-inflicted. BT said, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard Doge is looking to family court laws and things of that nature. I've heard same things. I believe they're complete rumors at this point. I am researching it. I'm actively researching it. I will be doing a video on it in the very near future. I've actually done multiple videos already talking about the political things. So the rumors that have flown around, Trump was going to do away with 50-50. Trump was going to, they were all lies. Okay. I tried to find out where they started. It is spread so bad that I can never find the starting point. But there is nothing on the federal level anywhere that I can find that anything is being changed, nor likely would it be. Okay. It's a state's issue, guys. So things like shared parenting, things like, funding for a lot of the courts and all that, that's at the state level. Federal government through Title 4D does send money down, but it's the states that determine what happens with it. So I think Doge will, as from what we're seeing with everything else, they'll look at it. Do I expect anything to change? I'll believe it when I see it. And I hope to God I'm wrong. But I am doing research on that specific question. I have found nothing to confirm that, by the way. Nothing. Doesn't mean it's not out there. It just, I don't go by internet sources, guys. I go and look. I read bills. Go on the government websites. I look for actual stuff. Sometimes I'll put in FOIL requests looking for it. But so like N did 61 said probably Trump started those. No, he didn't. Trump has never said one word about family court. Not one. And I defy you to find it. It's nowhere. The closest I could find was a couple of feminist writers threw it out there. And if you want to see more in depth, because I'm not going to do it here, go check out those videos. They're on my YouTube. They were too big to put on TikTok. You'd have to go over to YouTube to see them. Too long, I should say, not big. Although they were pretty big. Anyway, let me see. I'm looking for questions. Jensen said I'm trying to get fluent in English. Good luck, because I'm not. It's funny. Like I said, Jens, I started learning French at 8 years old. I was very fluent in it up through college. In fact, it was the easiest. I took beginning French in college was easy. I knew the language better than the teacher did, and the professor figured it out fast. But then I haven't used it, and you forget. Same with German. I started taking German in 8th grade. Not nowhere near as fluent as I was in French, but I could carry on a conversation. I can listen to it and understand it. Like I'll watch, like on Netflix, if something is a German production, I'll listen to it in German instead. And I can kind of follow it, but I lose track on some things. Depends how fast they talk. But speaking it back, it's all gone. And it's sad. I was thinking about getting one of the apps like Duolingo or one of them and trying to refresh on it. But if you don't use something, as a couple people just mentioned, you will lose it. And I have. And it's sad. It's, like I said, if I had more time, I would probably download one of those apps and try and work back through it. I don't think it would take me long to pick back up most of it, because like I said, I can watch it on TV and understand, following most of it. It is what it is. All right. MJ said, forget crypto, do what old timers did, stack gold and silver. Well, I have a lot of crypto. I've done well with crypto. So I don't know that I agree with you completely, but I do agree with your point. I will say that. And I do hold some gold and some silver, but yeah, I've done really well with crypto. It's, although right now I'm losing my shirt, because I've bought and held. So, and I'm not giving financial advice, but I bought Bitcoin back in 2013, 14. I'll just leave it at that. Repent Now said you should work with Paul Elam. I have actually reached out to him. Crickets. One of the things that we are working on is getting in contact with some of the people you guys have mentioned and seeing if we can work with them. They've got to be willing to speak to us even. So yeah. Burley said, when did you start the Sunday stream? Well, I started at about 11:30, and I plan to only do about a half hour, but I'm going to stay on. I'll probably do about an hour. How about that, guys? I'll stay on until 12:30 Eastern. I used to do more solo lives, and then once Lindsay joined me on Boy Meets Squirrel, we moved everything over to that. So I've been focusing on that. But I do want to get back to some of my own lives just because I enjoy them. It's my favorite part of the week, by the way, Boy Meets Squirrel, because I get to interact with you guys. I love making videos and talking about things, but I also, hey, Christopher, top of the good day for you, sir. But I love talking with you guys and interacting. And by the way, a couple people have already given me ideas for videos. See, that's the other thing is if you guys have videos you want me to talk about or issues, let me know. And I mean, I always have the standard ones, right? But if you have a particular issue that I have not talked about or others aren't, and you want me to address it, give me the ideas, guys. All right. Skid64 said, what's your age group? Hope the young are listening. Depends on the platform. So TikTok skews younger, 20s, 30s. YouTube's a little bit older, and it kind of falls in line with the platforms. My biggest group on YouTube is in the 40s, and then 30s is next. Facebook, as you probably can imagine, 40s and 50s. That's the boomer app. That's where I am. But that's why I'm kind of, if you look, it's been a while. I analyzed it 8, 9, 10 months ago, whatever it was. And you look across all the different platforms, it's pretty even, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, pretty even. So I don't think I have any one age group. And I do think the younger ones are listening to me more because I get most of the feedback I get is from the younger guys. for whatever reason. So Vladimir said, do you let people talk to you? Well, you're talking to me right now, my friend. If you're talking about can people reach out to me? I do try and answer emails. I do not answer DMs, guys. Every once in a while, I'll jump in and do what I can. I get, on average, between all the platforms, between 500 and 1,000 DMs a day. Some days are slower than others. Some days are busier than others. I can't possibly keep up with the DMs. I would have to hire 2 people to keep up with it, right? But email is a little bit better. If it's something you need, like I always tell people, if you want, like people will reach out to me, can you come on my podcast? I will look at it. I will consider it. But you got to email me. Don't DM me on that. If you want a specific thing you'd like me to look at or something like that, email me, menneedtobeheard@gmail.com. I am better on that. Sometimes I fall behind on that. Average day, I probably get 50 to 100 emails. So I do what I can, guys, and I apologize. I cannot possibly get to everyone. I do coaching. That is paid. I don't do it for free because, again, it's, something that I'm doing and giving my time of. You can always go and look in my bios, there's links to that, or go to my website, menneedtobeheard.com. All right. Hopefully I answered that for you, Vladimir. All right. Skid said, I'm the same age as you. I'm done and happy on my own. That's, it's funny you say that. The older guys, I'm one of them. They're the ones really walking away. I mean, informal research, I'm talking 50 up. They've really walked away. I mean, they are, again, most of them, if they're single at that point, you've been divorced once or at least twice. They have really ever come back, right? The younger ones are walking away more and more. Just, again, informal research, observation, feedback that I get. And I think it's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I think you are going to see, like everybody knows about the, 45% of women are going to be single by 2030, blah, blah, blah. I think that's going to be nothing compared to what's coming. Men are just done, which is sad, as I said earlier. MJ said, did you see that viral clip of the athlete saying the 2 hardest things in life is hitting a baseball, keeping a woman happy long-term? I did not see that video. I would probably love it. I thought you were going to, when I first started reading, I thought you were going to talk about the guy in Kansas City. I've got a video coming up on that. Evil Alex wants to know, do I ever get mean comments or threats? Oh, my friend, you have no idea. I get dozens of comments a day. Again, I ignore most of them. I have received death threats. One very, very serious death threat that happened about 18 months ago, a little bit longer, maybe 19 or 20, that I had to take away very, very seriously. Law enforcement got involved. I've had a couple other ones that I think were just kooks. But again, I have friends in law enforcement. So yes, I get mean comments. I don't care. People will, sometimes you'll see the feminists will duet me or, stitch me or all that. I don't care. I don't even pay attention to them, to be honest with you, because I don't care. They cannot hurt me. They cannot affect me. They think, it's funny because they think they're getting me, and I laugh. I laugh my ass off. Like I said earlier, I get reported every single day. There's not a morning I don't wake up without at least one video reported on TikTok. At least one. On either one of my accounts, sometimes both, right? They do it constantly. To the point I just laugh about it. It's all you can do. And it's childish the way it's done. It's just childish. And it is what it is. Kevin Killjoy said, will Trump do away with no-fault divorce? I already addressed this. No. He's not, it's not even on his radar. He has never discussed no-fault divorce. Ever. Go find it. Prove it to me. I would love for you to prove me wrong. Everybody keeps talking about it. I researched the hell out of it. The closest I could find was a couple of And even they were repeating it, I believe, was a couple of feminist authors putting it out there. There is nothing in the federal radar. Trump can't do away with no-fault divorce. He has no power to do so. That's a state level thing. Federal government can't do anything about it. It is at the state level. Stop believing it. It's not happening. I cannot say that enough to you guys. Chris said the federal match support child support is set by 5%. Hence, the states are incentivized to maximize child support. Yes, they are. I've done many videos on that. In fact, that's one thing we are reaching out to Doge about. There's a few, not to give anything away, but there's a few of us that are working to try and get Doge to look into Title 4D. Don't expect much from it because, again, that's a big elephant to have to kill. But yeah. Omega said, why does society hate men and boys so much? I just did a video on this. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about with when I did the conference, my speech at the conference this past Wednesday. The reason society hates men and boys is because they've been taught to do that, right? As I said in my speech, I grew up in the 70s. Go watch the Brady Bunch. And I know there's shows prior to that. I'm just using that one for my personal experience. And watch how the boys are portrayed in that show. Watch how the girls are. The girls won every contest. The girls were all sugar, spice, everything nice. They always, you can do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the boys were made to look like idiots. Then you go forward to Homer Simpson, who's become the face of fatherhood and the face of men, right? And then, he's a bumbling idiot. He's portrayed that way. And then you go forward. I use Ray Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond, right? Forward again to Modern Family and Phil Dunphy, lovable idiot father. When you tell people, doesn't matter male or female, that message for 50 years, it's taken hold. And that's why you see so many people view men as idiots, incapable of doing anything, can't even feed themselves. They need their mommies to take care of them. It's a load of crap. But yet it runs so deep. Doc said, Marsha, hands off. She's mine. She's my first love. And it's funny because when I was writing my speech, I actually put something in there about Marsha. I just happened to go look her up, and she recently turned 68, and she's still gorgeous to me. So, but anyway. All right, let me back. Skid said, hate those programs. It's, we grew up with it, right? You're my age, as you said. I'm 50 odd years. I'm 61 now, but I'm 50 odd years of remembering back. I don't remember TV from the 60s other than Batman. TV in the early 70s all the way up through is nothing but negativity towards men, and it has sunk in. Repent now said, has to get worse for it to get better. Yes, I agree with that. And I think it will actually, although it is getting better. The signs are there. Ultimate Moralizer said, awesome live stream. There needs to be more MGTOWs on TikTok. Create your own, guys. I keep telling you that. Ron said, you're live. Want to say thank you. Again, I thank you for the thank you. Just blanket thank you for the kind words, guys. All right, let me jump over to Insta for a while. Can I talk a little or elaborate more on why I believe it will worsen? I'm new here and glad to be here. All right, so why do I think it's going to worsen? As I said, I am starting to see it, let's use it as a pendulum, right? It's swung way over against men. It's swinging back. History shows that when you have that scenario where things start to swing back, the side that is losing at that point, poor term, but I'll use it, comes back even harder. And we're seeing that also, right? So it's really going to get, here's the pendulum. It's swung all the way this way, right? So this is, the men are all bad. All men till it's no men, right? Now it's probably about here, right? These guys over here that want it up here are panicking, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it online. You're seeing it everywhere. They're going to triple down on what they've done, quadruple on it. That's what I mean. and it will bump back in their favor a little bit. That's the way. Go look at history. History repeats itself, and then it will really swing. You're seeing it politically right now, and I don't want to get into politics on this. But you're seeing it politically. The pendulum swung way to one side 4 years ago for whatever reason. I don't care. I don't want to get into it. Okay. Then it swung back a little bit in 22, 23, 24, and now you're seeing they're pushing the people that have lost power, if you will, are freaking out. And again, I don't say that to take a political stance. I say it because you have to observe it. You're seeing the same scenarios, right? That's why. And then follow-up question was that, can you elaborate why you think it's going to get worse for the younger crowd? Guys are opting out of marriage. That's why. Again, I actually am a big fan of marriage, big fan of all of that. It's just so polluted for men right now. Such a bad move that I cannot tell guys to get married anymore. I just can't. I wouldn't feel right. I say that as a very happily married guy, right? I got lucky. I'm third wife. I hit the jackpot with her, okay? But I also knew what I was getting into at that point. And my second wife was fantastic. You'll never hear me say a negative thing about her, ever. She was a wonderful wife, wonderful mother. We just weren't compatible, okay? We had grown completely apart. And, you know, I learned from that. I learned from, you know, my first marriage was horrible. I learned from that. So by the time I got to the third one, when I was 47 when I met her, 48, we've been together since then. I learned. It took me 48 years to learn, but I learned. And that's kind of why I do what I do now, right? Is so I can help the 20-year-olds to not make the same mistakes I did. And that's why us older guys really need to step up and have these conversations. And if I were a 20-year-old right now, there's no way in hell I would get married. If I was 30, no way in hell I would get married. Not even, and I advocate strongly for prenups. I don't even think a prenup's good enough anymore. I really, because prenups can be gotten around. Mostly because the guys screw up what they're supposed to be doing. All right. What should we do as men when the American dream has died? I've lost everything rebuilt and I'm on the verge of, yeah. So Chris asked that question, and that's a fantastic question. It's one that I'm actually been ruminating on, my friend. I think, so what we need to do as men in general is we need to stop letting them push us around. And this is some of the stuff I'm working on, right? 1C3 that I've started with some others. In my work with the International Council of Men and Boys, what we've got to do is come together. No violence, please. Stop. Okay. We're not going to overthrow the government. Stop with that crap. Every time you guys, and it's very few that do, but the guys that do that, you make it so much harder on us. Okay. What we need to do is stop allowing them to push us around. So we need to be demanding politicians fund domestic violence shelters, address the unbelievable gap between boys and girls in education. Boys are so far behind. Boys are farther behind now than girls were in the 60s when they revamped education completely, right? Farther behind, and no one will even talk about it. Those are the type of things. Shared parenting needs to become the norm, but it's not going to happen if we don't come together. We have to stop trying to go our own way, to borrow a term some of you have used, okay? If we don't come as a group, they've already destroyed us. They've beaten us. And we have to admit that. They are masters at what they do. They being whomever you want to assign to that, right? So the only way the American dream is going to come back, because I do think it has largely died, and it's not just men's issues, society is dying, is if men come together and say enough's enough. And it doesn't, I am not an advocate for violence in any way, shape, or form. What I say is we all start voting even more than we already are. Like I said, we affected the election, but we need to have even more, right? We need to be in politicians' faces. We need to be doing what the women's groups do, right? If a politician refuses to back, say, shared parenting, right? And get ready, because we've got a few. And I and others put out the word and say, guys, XYZ politician, I want you to send them an email saying you support shared parenting. Nothing else. No threats, no violence, none of that. Just send an email. If I had guys doing that, you'd have shared parenting in every state in a matter of probably 5 years. You got to step up and put some skin in the game too, guys, right? Funding wise, we get outraised 10,000 to 1. For every dollar that guys donate to any men's cause, women donate 10,000 to theirs, stay tuned on that. My argument is this, and I guarantee you this. I can make this promise. If every guy who is a father, a husband, a son, whatever, gave $1 a year, $1 a year, I'll have shared parenting in all 50 states, 5 to 10 years. I'll have a domestic violence shelter in all 50 states, at least one in 5 to 10 years. We can't even get guys to do that. That's the problem, right? Whereas the women's groups put out, say, hey, such and such politician, hit them with an email. They even write the email. They'll get 10,000 of them, those politicians. Because I talk to politicians. I know what happens, okay? They'll say, guys, or girls, I should say, not guys, we need money to put up a billboard. They'll have it like that. And I'm talking internally from the women, not from corporations. They get that too. That's what I'm talking about. And until guys are willing to pony up a couple of bucks, it doesn't take $100 or $1,000 or $10,000. Be welcome, believe me, but $1, and stay tuned for that. And we're doing that with Reforging Families. Once it's all set up, we're going to put the word out. We're going to ask everybody for $1, and we are not keeping any of the money. And you will see exactly where it's being spent. One of the things we've committed to is that we are going to put on the website where every dollar is spent. You will know. And it's going to be targeted towards things like shelters. It's going to be targeted towards dealing with politicians. You get a politician, let's say hypothetically, Timbuktu. I want to get, we got a politician in Timbuktu, and we're trying to get shared parenting passed, and this one politician is holding it up, which is the case in a couple of states, I might add. Imagine if I could get $10,000, put electronic billboards up in their district come election time in November. You think that won't have an effect? You think then they'll rethink whether they're going to vote against shared parenting? And oh, by the way, if they didn't swing our way and we cost them an election, you think the other politicians aren't going to notice? But that takes money, right? I actually was pricing electronic billboards in my area. It's about $1,000 a month, $1,000 to $1,500, depending on where it is. I'm working on right now trying to get a shelter open and to affect that by putting up a billboard for $1,000 a month. It would happen, guys. The women's groups do it all the time. There's nothing special about what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. All right. I know I want to kind of rant there. You guys get me going. I love it. So WMGDMS said, is there a way a woman can change her ways? Yes. She's just simply got to decide to. Most of them won't. Anyone. That doesn't apply just to women. That applies to any of them. Guys, I say this to guys all the time. If you don't like a situation you're in, do something about it. Stop being, I got to be careful. I don't use the words that I use privately. Stop being little kitty cats. All right. Get up off your ass and do something about it, whatever it might be. Nothing changes by sitting around crying about it. Okay. Does that mean you can't have feelings, emotions, and all that? No. But like most of you who follow me know that I'm a trainer. I've owned gyms and done all that for years. It's the same thing I tell people who come to me that want to lose weight or get in shape or whatever. I train power lifters. You're never going to become a power lifter that succeeds. Define succeed however you want. For some, it's being able to hit certain weights. Others, it's winning medals. You're never going to succeed if you keep using 5-pound dumbbells. Kind of an extreme analogy, but you get my point, right? If you're not willing to pick up 500-pound deadlifts and you're only willing to go 50 because you might get hurt, cut your bullshit. Who are you kidding? You're the only one you're fooling yourself, right? Same type thing. Anything that you're struggling with in life, and I say this, having been there, like I talked about in the 90s, my first divorce, I went through hell. Took me 10 years, but in the end, I came out ahead, right? It was only because I refused to go down. And I don't say this as to say that I'm better than anyone else, but I am one stubborn mofo, and they beat me down, but I was not going to let them win. And that's, some people can do that, some can't. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. Anyone can change if they choose to in any way. All right, I got about 5 more minutes. Richard said, found you live. Any advice on recovering from a narcissistic relationship? The best advice I get. Funny, you guys are awesome. Had a similar question come in through my private groups, 2 weeks ago, something like that. The number one thing you need to do is step away and give yourself time. So my experience, what I've seen most when guys, and I'm speaking from the guy's perspective, I think it probably applies to women as well, but I just want to stay with the guys, is that the guys who've been abused that way, and it is abuse, tend to not give themselves enough time to heal. And I mean, some jump right back into other relationships, and it's almost always a disaster. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stepping away from it and just figuring it all out. How did I end up this way? And this is what I did, guys. Same. I'm not telling you anything I didn't do back in the 90s, okay? Analyze it. Understand it. Really dig in. Some people need to go to therapy for it. That's a whole other argument we're going to make, all right? I did not. I was able to work myself through it, but time, the phrase time heals all wounds. Well, it doesn't heal all wounds, but that particular thing where you've dealt with that, it's, for lack of a better term, to use another analogy, it's much like dealing with a death. It really is. And you hear it, like shrinks will talk about, the death of a relationship. That is a thing, but death of coming out of a narcissistic relationship, I think, takes even more. You got to grieve. You got to allow yourself to feel whatever it is you need to feel. You need to analyze it. You need to understand it. You need to just give yourself the time. And the second thing I would add is you need to talk to someone. That does not mean a shrink necessarily. That would never work for me. All right. If you got a brother, whether it's an actual brother or another guy, if you have someone you can tell me when I've been wronged. She's brutal with me. And I love her dearly for it. You need that. You need that person that can hold you accountable, but also show you compassion. It's tough to find that person, and you only need one. You don't need a group of them. So hopefully that helps you. Let me see. I'm trying to jump. I'm jumping through 3 screens, so you got to just bear with me. Probably got a couple more minutes. Yeah. And NDL D61 said women have no reason to change. That's true right now. Well, they don't think they do. They do have a reason. They just don't think they do. By the way, I want to say shout outs to all the people that sent roses over on TikTok and the heart me, Mr. Q Voice, Eric, multiple, Trey sent a TikToks. All right. Dino says, well, I'm about 15 minutes behind for questions. Question about, would you let a woman get hurt or die after all these years of mistreatment the world has been to? I was reading that as, would you come to the aid of a woman? But I'm not a big fan of letting anyone get hurt or die, but the way things are these days, I would really think twice about coming to the aid of a woman in public, because it's not working out most of the time for guys. All right. I know I kind of sidestepped that one, but I'm running out of time too, and I want to make sure I get through other questions. Oh, so Dino said, if I saw women want violence, I say we men give it to them. Women aren't advocating for violence. If you actually look at the women's groups, they are very, their voices are out there. But truthfully, if we're honest, they don't advocate for violence, and nor should we. The minute you go there, you're feeding right into what they want you to do. You got to be very careful with that. I say this to all people all the time. You're not the ones that are in the various state capitals lobbying. It's thrown in our face constantly. Men are violent because all it takes is one guy to write a letter or an email threatening violence, and they attribute it to all of us, right? Again, because the media said it's all men till it's no men. Gotta stop doing that, guys. We can make change without being violent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, guys. Actually, I was intending only a half hour. I went an hour. What do you think, real quick? Do you want me to do more lives on the weekends? I won't do one every weekend. I got a life. But if you guys think it would be something fun and I should jump on and do more often, let me know. Just put it in the comments real quick. If you've enjoyed this, do me the favor. I'm going to shill for a little bit. Give me the heart, the like, and all that stuff. If you're not following me, follow me. Subscribe. Don't forget Boy Meets Squirrel also. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Insta and X. TikTok, we have an account. We can't do anything with it. They've blocked us from doing anything. It's there, but so follow Boy Meets Squirrel. We will be live this Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. We're live every Wednesday. Fingers crossed, Sarah Eaton will be joining us as a guest. Lindsay and I talk issues about whatever men and boys face every week. Come join us. So, the more of you there are, like I said a while ago, I live for the live shows more than anything else. I love them. I wish I had more time to do them, but then I would not be able to do some of the other stuff I do, which is advocate, right? The advocacy work I do. But if you guys think it would be something you'd want me to do more often on weekends, maybe a couple times a month, I'll let me know, because I'm certainly open to it. Again, I'd probably do no more than an hour. And hey, get out and enjoy life. That's the one other thing I want to say, right, is real quick. For guys, I know the tendencies to, shut down, hide in your house and all that stuff. Get out. Just get out and do something. Beach is a little bit that way, okay? That way. Here, I'm trying to point without going off screen, okay? I go down to the beach almost every day, even if it's for 10 minutes, just to clear my head. Whether it's, going to the beach, whether it's golfing, whether it's going to the shooting range, something else I enjoy. Whatever is your thing, get out and do it. Get out and do it. Gym is my other one, right? I go to the gym not every day, but generally 4 to 5 times a week. I'm at the gym and I go for a couple hours a pop. That's my me time. It's my time to decompress. So one thing guys need to get back to doing. A lot of guys are decompression, and I have no problem with that. The only video game I've ever played is in the last 30 years is Battlefield 1942. I still play it, by the way, every once in a while. But don't let that become your entire life. I'm finding with the younger guys that I'm coaching, that is all they're doing. And like I said, I don't want to take that away from them, but get out and go for a walk once in a while. Get out in nature, go to the beach, go to the park, go skiing, whatever it is, go golfing. Get yourselves out there and look for other guys. You will be amazed. If you're alone and you're a guy, you will be amazed at the number of other guys that are out there. Go find them. They're not going to come find you, right? Go find them, all right? Because you will be the one who comes out ahead if you do. Trust me on that. All right, guys, going to go ahead and wrap it up. Awesome time. Thanks for everything, and thank you again for all your support across the board. I truly appreciate it. Catch you next time.